Help support Name Explain by liking this video, leaving a comment and subscribing to the channel. In West Africa we have the two nations of Niger and Nigeria. Not only are they both in West Africa, they are right next to each other, with Niger in the north and Nigeria in the south. However, it's not only their geographic location that they have in common. The names of these two nations are exactly the same, except that Nigeria has the ever-present "ia" suffix attached to the end of it. I'm sure you all know the drill by now. Why are these names so similar? Well as their geography and their names being similar, they also have something else in common. The same river runs through both of these nations, with that river being the Niger River. Many nations are named after rivers that run through them, but this is one of the few exceptions where the same river gives its name to two nations. The only other examples being the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the Republic of the Congo being named after the Congo River, and India and Indonesia both being named after the Indus River. Well, sort of. So if both these nations were named after the river, then how did the river get its name? The river actually has a lot of different names across the languages of the regions that the river goes through. A lot of these names reflect the importance of this river, with all these names having very definitive feels to them, with names in Manding and Zama meaning things like Great River, and the Tuareg name means River of Rivers, and it's believed that this is the route that we got the name Niger for the river too. There's a few ideas about this name. One of the earliest mentions of the name we know it as today comes from the 1550 Italian book Descriptions of Africa by Giovanni Battista Ramusio. It's thought that this name might come from the Berber phrase Gertengger, which means a river of rivers, and it's also thought that the name may stem from the Latin word for black. That might be how the Niger River got its name, and while we know that Nigeria and Niger are both named after this river, the next question is why are they both named after this river? There are many rivers that run through multiple countries, but all the countries that run through them aren't named after the river, and there are other nations that the Niger runs through that aren't named after the river. So what singled out these two nations to be named after it? It seems that this is due to the empires that ruled over these lands in the past. Nigeria was once part of the British Empire, and Niger was once part of the French Empire. A lot of the time, these empires were quite literal when it came to naming territories in Africa, like how the southern part of Africa was simply called South Africa, and it still is today. Other parts of Africa under British rule were named after geographic features. The Gambia and Ghana were once part of the British Empire, and both names used by them were geographic based, with the Gambia being named after the river that runs through the nation, and during its time under British rule, Ghana was called the Gold Coast, referencing how this land was on the coast and rich with gold. It would make sense for the British and French to simply name these masses of land they were claiming by simple geographic features, and with the river Niger running through both these places, it made sense for them both to be named after this river. Luckily, however, they didn't end up with the exact same name, with the British territory adding the "ia" suffix while the French territory just stuck with the name of the river. While I couldn't see an exact answer for this, the French language does give us a clue. From what I can tell, despite how popular this suffix is across the globe, it doesn't seem to be too commonly used in French. Even Wiktionary's list of French word by suffixes only has one entry, that being the French word for petunia. Even looking at former French colonies, not many of them have the "ia" suffix. It just seems to not be something used too often in French. Even translating other countries' names into French seems to remove the "ia" suffix from them. Though I'm happy to be wrong, so if there are some French places that end with "ia", please leave it down below. Nigeria and Niger were suggested by Introvert Talks and Gavin Halala, and thanks to their suggestion, they will now be honoured as Name Explain's patron saint of Nigeria and Niger. Do you have a good idea for somewhere that's name could be covered in a Name Explain video? If so, then please consider donating on Patreon. Just $1 a month helps keep the channel running and earns you a weekly chance to suggest somewhere to be turned into a video, and you too could be a Name Explain Patreon saint. Thank you to all my patrons who support Name Explain on a monthly basis. Name Explain depends on small monthly donations from fans like you to help keep the channel running. Just a small amount of $2 a month helps in a huge way, grants you patron exclusive Name Explain extras, and gets your name here with all these awesome people. Thank you.